Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome to Spectator Sport, another quarantine edition, and we got a big topic we talking about today. But before I get into that, we got two special guests in the building, two Bulls fans, two Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen fans. We got my man Jimmy Black. What up, Jimmy?
What up, bro? What's happening, man?
Bird, what's happening, bro? How you doing?
Peace to the gods, y'all know what it is.
That's what's up. Adi, how you doing up there?
I'm fantastic, bro.
Man, everybody stay safe out there. Another quarantine edition. Let's get to talking about this. So, I know all of us have watched The Last Dance. And the one thing that we came out of it, first of all, it's one of the best, if not the best, sports documentary of all time.
Hands down.
But what we came out of it as Bulls fans, we was like, wait a minute. Some people had a problem with the way Scottie Pippen was portrayed in this documentary. So more than anything, we want to just go through Scottie Pippen's resume and what he meant to the Chicago Bulls. So I'm gonna start with you, Bird. What is your thoughts on the triangle offense unleashing Scottie Pippen? Meaning, before the first time Jordan retired, when Scottie Pippen really came into his own when Phil Jackson became coach, how integral was Scottie Pippen to the Chicago Bulls running the triangle offense?
Oh, I mean, shit, he was the point guard. I mean, pretty much. I mean, he was super. I mean, if it was anybody facilitating on the Bulls, it was Scottie Pippen. So I always looked at LeBron James, and I always said LeBron James was like Scottie Pippen on steroids. Like, that's what he played. It was just all around. He was a Swiss Army knife type of dude who did everything, but he did everything better than average. You know what I'm saying? So Scottie Pippen was super important. Like, I mean, it couldn't have been a better second person. And I don't like the Robin thing, you know what I'm saying, with Scottie, because it ain't like he is this lower level player. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really like referring to him as a Robin, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't no better second player to a player like Jordan, you know? So, I mean, but as far as the triangle, I mean, Scottie was everything because his skill set allowed him to do everything in the triangle. On the post, the scoring, on the perimeter, passing, whatever. He was everything.
Absolutely. Jimmy Black, go ahead and step in. What was Pippen's important to the triangle offense initially?
Man, very important, man. Pip was able to present us with that phrase, point forward, man. You know, Pip can grab the rebound because he was long. Then he'll push the floor after that rebound, and now he's the point guard at the middle of the floor, ready to either facilitate or give a dunk on you, V.A. Patrick Ewing style. You know what I'm saying? Pip can do either one, man. He can dish it or dunk it, man. That's what I like about Pip.
Absolutely. Adi, go ahead. Chime in on this.
Well, yeah, man. You know, Doug Collins, he hated the triangle offense, all right? And he was content with Jordan shooting all the shots and gunning his teammates out. But when Phil Jackson became the head coach of the Bulls his first year, Scottie Pippen made the All-Star team, all right? And I'll go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the migraine game, okay, the migraine headache game against the Detroit Pistons 1990 Eastern Conference Finals. It was more than a headache, all right? The man's vision was very blurry. He was asking his teammates, was the lights dim? He could barely see. And what's remarkable about that game is that he played 42 minutes in that game, all right? So people make it seem like he didn't play. He played 42 minutes in that game. So I look at it like this. How did he bounce back? In the next year, in the Eastern Conference Finals against the defending champion Detroit Pistons in 91, Scottie Pippen averaged 22.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks as they swept the defending champions. And the worst thing about it is this. Scottie Pippen was snubbed off the 1991 All-Star team because of the backlash he received. He was blackballed in 91. He didn't make the All-Star team, and they did the guy wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. All y'all make great points. My biggest takeaway is once Phil Jackson kind of started coaching Scottie Pippen, he unleashed him, and now every small forward that's drafted, as Bird kind of alluded to earlier, every small forward behind Pippen had to be able to dribble, had to be able to be versatile, had to be able to play defense, had to have all-around game to be considered a good small forward. Pippen is the one guy that changed that once Phil Jackson came in. And remember, Pippen was a guard. You know, he was a guard at first, and he grew into that 7th frame. So Scottie Pippen, especially at that time, he was a monster defensively, offensively, and that triangle offense, how he ran the show, that just shows how smart and his IQ was for the back game of basketball.
I will say this though, alluding to what Adi was talking about with the migraine thing. Because like I said, I remember, I'm a couple, a little older than y'all, and I just remember watching that. And that series, why people were so mad at the migraine concept was that Scottie was playing so soft before that. Like he was scared of them. And then all of a sudden, when Game 7, now he got the migraine. So that's how a lot of fans took it at the time. Not saying he didn't have it, but that's how I kind of felt at the time. But you know what I'm saying? Scottie a G. I mean, it's no question about it. I mean, Scottie is Scottie. But I remember that anger. I still can revisit that anger as a shorty. Like, man, he just scared of these motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? But, I'm sure he really was hurting and shit.
No, you're right.
Because said that, though, Bird, because I had them same feelings, man. I remember when they said migraine on TV as a shorty, I asked my parents, I said, man, what is a migraine? He's like, he got a headache. I said, well, they got any Tylenol? I was just like, man, get out there and play, Scottie, what the hell? You got a headache? You know what I'm saying? That was my mentality as a shorty. I remember watching it too, and those was the exact questions I had. Like, come on, Scottie, your head hurt. Come on, man, get out there. But as time went on, man, vision was blurry. He had what he had, but he bounced back, like Adi said, like no other than against that same team in that same arena and did what he did. So, hey, we can't knock the guy. The guy was sick and couldn't see.
He know what he made up for every little thing he did. Every little bump he had, he made up for all those.
Yeah. And I think that's the point that we're trying to get across because, like you say, Bird, you were right because Pippen just wasn't strong enough at the time for the Detroit Pistons. It wasn't just Pippen. Even Michael Jordan, as great as he wasn't strong enough at the time. So that could you're right. That definitely played a big factor. So let's talk about this. I'm gonna start with you, Jimmy. What was your thoughts on Pippen's first season? Talk about the '94 Scottie Pippen in the Chicago Bulls.
Woo! Afro Pip, man, with the microphone. He had the microphone, then he shaved his head. Scottie was going through one. Had the red shoes in the All-Star game. Hey, look here. To me, that '94 Pip, man, was like Pip in rare form had he had the green light at all times. And, of course, by nature, he was a facilitator first, but he also showed that he would take over the game and win that game at the same time as well. And had he had more time in that role, who knows what Scottie Pippen's career numbers could have ended up being like. But he did what he had to do as taking, when you got somebody like Mike on board whose job is to shoot the ball, you got to go ahead and dish that rock and let Mike do the shooting. But when Scottie had the keys to the driver's seat in '94, man, we saw him in the All-Star game. We saw him, man, the whole season taking over. I think we won like 50-some games that year, man.
55.
55 games, man. So Pip was a key contributor that season, man, when he had the green light, man.
Absolutely. Bird, go ahead, chime in. What was your thoughts on the '94 Bulls with Scottie Pippen?
I mean, I thought Pip was second best player in the world to Hakeem. I mean, because I felt like if you look at it as far as today basketball, I feel like Pippen was doing what Kawhi Leonard was doing in that year. Easy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Defending niggas, scoring. I mean, doing a little more because he was more of a facilitator. But like, he was a Kawhi Leonard, a Paul George. He would have been a top 5 small forward. He would be a top 5 small forward right now from '94. Like the way he was playing. I mean, he wasn't doing nothing. He was doing everything on par to being the man that follow up Mike. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't gonna be Mike, but he was showing, I'm here. It was like he stood out like, yeah, I'm Scottie. It's my squad. 55 win, like y'all said, and going to the playoffs and so forth and so on. So, I mean, Scottie was a monster. I mean, he showed his ass a little more offensively, obviously. We got to see more of his offensive game. And, it just showed that he deserved all of the props that he got. It wasn't all just because of Mike.
And didn't he get All-Star MVP that year?
Yeah, he won All-Star MVP.
He won All-Star MVP that year in the red shoes.
Yeah, with them ugly-ass red flights.
Ugly-ass red flights.
Yeah, them shoes was bogus.
They was bogus, but Pip was balling so hard, man, you couldn't help it.
Oh, he was killing.
Yeah.
He was killing in them things.
Hey, Adi, step in. What's your thoughts on the '94 Bulls and Scottie Pippen?
Well, yeah, in the season before Jordan retired before his first retirement, the Bulls won 57 games. And like y'all said, in the very next season, while Jordan playing baseball, the Bulls won 55 games. They only lost 2 less games, and Pippen missed 10 games in 1994, okay? And so Scottie Pippen's point guard mentality helped elevate B.J. Armstrong and Horace Grant's games to an all-star level. Both those guys made the all-star team. Scottie Pippen was the all-star MVP. And so, but I'll go ahead and address the other elephant in our Zoom room, okay? The 1.8 seconds, all right? The Bulls in the playoffs against the New York Knicks, and Phil Jackson draws up the play for Tony Kukoc. Pippen refused to get in. That was an extreme, egregious blunder by Scottie Pippen. But I would go ahead and say thank the basketball gods that Tony Kukoc hit that shot, because if he would have missed that shot and the Bulls would have went down 3-0 in that series and lost that game, we would have been looking at that a whole lot different. The Bulls would have been down 3-0. But how did he bounce back from that? In game 4 against the Knicks, the very next game, Scottie Pippen, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and only 1 turnover in the entire game. He came back, but then came Scottie Pippen's, the number 1 Pippen hater of all time, Hugh Hollins, calling the whack foul, the phantom foul on Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, on Hubert Davis.
Hubert Davis. The Bulls lost game 5, and the Bulls lost that series in 7. Very unfortunate for Chicago. But I would tell you this. Scottie Pippen came very close to leading the Bulls to their 6th straight Eastern Conference Finals, and quite possibly a 4-peat. You know how crazy that is, a 4-peat, okay, without Jordan. How many teams in history has lost a best player for nothing and had a season like that?
Yeah, y'all bring us some valid points. That's very true, Adi. The one thing, it just showed me how unselfish as a basketball player Scottie Pippen was. Because even when Jordan left, Pippen could have easily just started jacking up 20, 25 shots a game and averaged 25 or 30. But he made it a point to get his team involved. And like you say, elevating B.J. Armstrong, Horace Grant making an all-star team. Everybody was involved. It was a very team concept led by Scottie Pippen. That's just the way he plays. So even despite Jordan being gone, he averaged 22 points a game that season. That's not like, it's a good number. Don't get me wrong, 22 is a lot, but it's not like you would think like Jordan leaves, like the other player's gonna step it up to 25. He just did everything really good across the board and involved everyone. Also, the 1.8 seconds, listen, Pippen was wrong. Was he wrong? Was wrong. But I do understand where he was coming from. All season, he had been the man, led the Bulls. He was the best player on the court. And that was his time to finally have his moment in the big time crucial game.
I got it.
No, I'm not saying he right. He handled it the wrong way. He handled it the wrong way. But that was, he wanted that time. Look, Pippen, he wanted that moment.
I understand that, but he can't be that mad about what the coach decide in that moment to where it's you the star and you like, fuck it, I'm not playing. No, fuck that. You just didn't get your call, but you can't quit. I'll never say you cool on that, Scottie.
No, I'm not cool on it. There's no excuse for that. What he should have did is just went ahead and ran the play, and they should have told Phil about in the locker room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's it. But extra pouting and then.
But I understood. But I understood his frustration. That's all I'm saying. I understood where his frustration lied at, because the whole year he did everything. He led the team and everything, and that was his moment as he felt it. Now, to Tony Kukoc's defense, he made a bunch of last-second shots in that year. You know, he was. Kukoc made a lot of buzzer shots.
I'll say this.
Why Phil did the play.
For as much as Mike, and I know we got to move to the next thing, but for as much as Mike is criticized for his selfishness and all that, Michael Jordan would have never done no shit like that. If they called the play for Pax, Kerr, or whoever the fuck it was, he was never going to not go on the court. He might have snapped especially if they missed, but he wasn't going to sit on the court, argue with teammates, get the fuck off me. Never. So that.
No, you can't. There's no excuse for quitting. I'm not giving him an excuse. I was just saying, I just understood his frustration.
It was selfish.
That's all I'm saying at that moment.
It was selfish. It was as selfish as hell. I can't call it nothing else but that. Selfish.
It was wrong. It definitely was wrong. But I just understood where he was coming from. He handled it the wrong way. But let's move on. So speaking of Michael Jordan, The Last Dance. You know, it seemed like they highlighted all Scottie Pippen's indiscretions, as we just talked about, the 1.8, the migraine headache, his back being hurt in Game 6 of the final. I mean, they even showed the missed free throws in Indiana Pacers series. I mean, they highlighted a lot. So I'm gonna start with you, Adi. Did they leave out some key points about Scottie Pippen in The Last Dance?
Well, you know what? The Last Dance should have focused more on Pippen's sacrifice for his team in a 1997 playoff. Okay, they failed to mention Pippen's game-winning dunk on Calbert Cheaney and Harvey Grant to eliminate Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Rod Strickland, and the Washington Bullets. It was very hard. It was very nerve-wracking to see Pippen fall down. That was a hard fall he took.
Yeah.
On the court in pain, and he sacrificed a lot. He got up and he finished the game, and he finished the playoffs with his team. And also, so that showed a lot of toughness there. I didn't see that in the documentary. And
he came from the baseline, right?
Yeah, on the baseline,
yeah,
dunked on them guys.
Jordan had lost the ball. The ball, by the way.
Yeah. That's probably why they didn't show it. So the thing is, and then in the Eastern Conference Finals, when the Bulls was eliminating Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning and the Miami Heat, Scottie Pippen, he ruptured a tendon in his ankle in that game. But not only did Pippen play in game 1 in the NBA Finals, he had 27 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 3 steals in game 1 in a very close game, and they won that game 1. And also for the series, he averaged 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 42 minutes per game on the ruptured tendon in his ankle, and he had the game-winning steal to clinch the 5th title at the end of Game 6. All right, to pass to Tony Kukoc for the jam. And so the thing is, when people like Isaiah Thomas, when he was playing on the sprained ankle in the 1988 NBA Finals, we see that a lot. He's on the pedestal for that. He gets a lot of credit for that. Willis Reed, even Paul Pierce in a wheelchair, coming out the locker room in the wheelchair and all that. But when Pippen does something like that, no one seems to notice. No one seems to care.
Bird, hey Bird, what's your comments about that? How do you think? What did the Last Dance forget to say about Pippen?
I really didn't take it like they forgot to say about Pippen. I can understand people wanted more emphasis put on Pippen, but I pretty much don't think it was a Pippen story. I mean, we know the story was about Jordan and how he was with teammates. That was what the backdrop of the shit was, right? Outside of the Bulls story and the Last Dance. But outside of that, I mean, they could have added more details like that about Pippen, but I just don't know if it was as relevant to the story they was trying to tell, which was Jordan's relationship with his teammates and the organization and all that shit throughout his entire career. So I think I wasn't tripping, pretty much, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't tripping just because, you know the whole story. And I wasn't tripping. I didn't think it painted him in a bad light, because I just felt like, shit, they just telling the truth about what happened. You know what I'm saying? He can't go back on the truth, but at the same time, they could have highlighted more of the humongous contribution that he made, you know what I'm saying, like to the overall thing. But I think the reason they didn't do that is because the focus of the shit was on Jordan for the most part.
Right.
Okay, James, go ahead, step in. What you think?
Man, it wasn't too much of a bad light because, I mean, granted, Scottie was in it, man. Scottie was in it. He got a chance to speak and say what he wanted to say at any point in time. It wasn't like he wasn't included in the whole documentary move, you know what I'm saying? So, to me, I feel like Bird, they told the truth. This is what happened. They didn't make up anything. They just kind of left a few things out. But it is what it is, man. Like he said, it's more so about Mike and how he was with his teammates. Mike even said, hey, when they mention my name, they should mention Scottie Pippen's name. So Mike kind of held him up, to that standard, kind of looked out for him. So I don't feel Scottie was mistreated or anything of that nature or presented wrong in that whole docu-series thing. They just told the facts, and the facts were, this is what happened. You had a headache. You couldn't play. You had a bad back, but you still played. You carried us 94. You sat out. This is what you did. So they didn't sugarcoat nothing and, make anything up on Scottie's behalf. So, I
don't think nobody went away from it like, yeah, he could have did that shit without Scottie. I don't think nobody took that away from it, you know what I'm saying? So
no, but all y'all make valid points. The only thing I will say, like you say, the indiscretions they brought up about Scottie Pippen, they were facts. No question. But I felt like they highlighted, like it is a Jordan doc, but they took time in the show to highlight Pippen's indiscretions. I felt like, and they didn't highlight enough of the good things he did. They had whole segments about the 1.8 seconds. They had a segment about Game 6 in the finals when he hurt his back. They had the whole segment about him having a migraine. So you had all this time on the documentary to get in all his mistakes, but you couldn't bring in more of like the good things he did. That's my only point. Because if you look at how Steve Kerr, I mean, can we all agree? We look, after watching this, Steve Kerr looks like a legend right now. Phil Jackson.
Hey, Curry even said, he's like, well, Scottie came back the next day and had a monster game. They showed that Ewing dunk. So Kirk kind of, you know,
he tried to. Kirk, like, to tip Pippen's teammates, they all came in defense of him. But like Steve Kerr, Phil Jackson, even Dennis Rodman, they all came out looking great. The only question we got about is really Scottie Pippen and Jerry Krause. Those are the two guys that we was like, wow, that's just me. Like, I was like, wow, they kind of went in all the bad stuff they did, but they didn't highlight all the good things they did. That's the only thing. If you're going to highlight all my mistakes, make sure you tell them the good things I did too.
Right.
That's my only point. All right, so let's talk about this. Old Pippen. You know, Pippen, you know, played a lot of basketball with the Chicago Bulls. A lot of basketball.
Yeah.
And but then he got traded to Houston and then played for Portland. So I started with you, James. What was your thoughts of Pippen with Portland and Houston days?
Man, to me, Pip got Portland to the Western Conference Finals, bro. Game 7 against the Lakers. And they're talking old Pip, and he was point forward still with a team full of Shee, Wallace's, Bonzi, Wells. They were just putting a bunch of cats together. Like, come on, Ryan, whoever you want to be, come on to Portland. We're going to just put y'all together. So Pip got them to the conference finals, man. Lost to Kobe and Shaq, who ended up winning that year. Great year. He did good in Houston, you know, but, you know, it wasn't as good as Portland years, but they did all right with Barkley and Olajuwon was a little old. But Pip held it down, though, man, to be an old guy. Even when he came back here, he only played like, 15, 16 games with the Bulls in 03, 04. But, hey, it was still Pip. He was out there running the floor, passing the ball, doing what he loved to do. Hey, I got no problems with Pip, man. The way he put it down for us for the 6 feet, man, the 3 feet, the repeat, man. You know, he all good, man.
No question. Bird, go ahead, comment on it, Bird. What was your thoughts of Pippen in Portland and Houston?
I thought in Houston, I thought he was whack in Houston. I thought he could have been a lot better in Houston. Thought his attitude was bogus. Him coming off fresh off that chip, feeling like, man, you know, I'm Pip. And he went to Houston and kind of just was like lost in the sauce. His attitude never got right in Houston. Like he was a malcontent. But then when he went to Portland, you know what I'm saying? He had some nice young talent, and he was able to, like Jimmy said, put them together and take them cats all the way to the Western Conference Finals and Game 7, and really had the game. They literally just blew it. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, they playing against two legends, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But they had a 15-point lead or some shit in the beginning of the fourth quarter or something crazy like that. But so I feel like Pippen was still a great player even when he was in Houston, but his mind wasn't right, so he didn't get the most out of that. But when he went to Portland, he showed that leadership. He showed all of them positive stuff, and it wasn't about numbers. You know what I'm saying? He was getting decent numbers, but you looked at his numbers, it looked pedestrian in comparison to what he was really doing for the whole team. So Pippen was proving that he was who he was. You know what I'm saying? Hall of Fame, one of the top 50. Because you can't just put any player on that Portland team with them kind of people, with the culture that they had at that time, and take them guys all the way to the Western Conference Final.
Absolutely. Adi, go ahead. What was your thoughts of Pippen's career in Portland and Houston?
Well, yeah, in Houston, Hakeem Olajuwon was 36 years old. Charles Barkley was 35 years old. They was done. They was at the end of their career. That was a bad year for Pippen. But with Portland, they blew the lead and everything. What's funny about the Portland Trailblazers is after that playoffs year in 2000, they went on a 13-year playoff series win drought, okay? And Pippen would never win a playoff series for the rest of his career. That was it. And so, but, I just look at it like, Kevin Garnett with the Nets at the end of his career, Chris Mullin with the Indiana Pacers, Chris Webber with the Philadelphia 76ers. People trying to get an extra ring or trying to get a ring when they're old and stuff like that. That's all it was.
Yeah, I agree with Houston was terrible. That was just a terrible fit. That was a terrible mix. It didn't work. Like Bird said, Pippen had a terrible attitude. I think he just didn't, after he saw Barkley work ethic, he wanted to have nothing to do with him. And Hakeem Olajuwon was done pretty much at the time. But Portland, he really led that team. Like I wouldn't say he was the best player, but he was the most important player on that Portland team. And that 2000 season, that was the last of Pippen. What's your final thoughts on Pippen and his career and his legacy?
Scottie Pippen is disrespected by the Robin label. They need to cut that shit out. You know what I'm saying? If anything, he was more of another Avenger. You know what I'm saying? If Michael Jordan was Captain America, then he was certainly Iron Man or whatever you pick. Thor, you just pick one. You know, he's an equal Avenger. I mean, Mike was Mike, but you know, it is what it is, man. Scottie Pippen is who he is and who he posted and who we think he is in Chicago as Chicago fans. And so, you know, it ain't.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's all I can say, man. He's Scott. He Pip, number 33. You know what I'm saying? Period.
Absolutely. James, go ahead. Same question.
Excuse me. I thought the illest on-ball defender as a small forward ever. Still.
Yeah, definitely.
James, go ahead. Step in. What's your thoughts?
Man, Pip had a great ass career, man. You can't take nothing from him, man. Like you say, greatest on-ball defender. And I agree with Bird on that, man. If Mike was Superman, Scottie was definitely Batman. You know, it was Superman-Batman combo out there. No second assistant pimp type of thing happening out there, man. Scottie could definitely run the show. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, great, man. Great for the city, man. Did his thing, man. You know, had his down years, but everybody had their ups and downs. But overall, man, Pippen definitely up there, man, in my book, man.
Adi, go ahead. Same question.
Yeah, man. You know what? Michael Jordan, he needed another defensive demon. He needed a pass-first mentality superstar guy like Pippen. Now, Scottie Pippen was not a pure scorer, a pure shooter, like Iceman, the Iceman George Gervin or James Worthy or Bernard King, but Phil Jackson didn't need him to be that. Michael Jordan's the best of all time. You don't need Pippen to do all that. So when you look at the careers of the second best players on other teams like John Stockton, Joe Dumars, Kevin McHale, I don't see a lot of people trying to diminish their contributions to their team's success. I just don't see it. We
never heard nobody look at Joe as a Robin. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I look at those guys like those guys are legends. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
You know, they weren't the best player on their team, but they still legends. You know what I'm saying? And so Michael Jordan played 3 seasons before Pippen came. 3 seasons. Michael Jordan didn't win 1 playoff series before Pippen came. He only won 1 playoff game before Pippen came. In Pippen's rookie year, the Bulls finally won a playoff series. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat them. Scottie Pippen had 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. You don't hear about that, okay? And so, you know, Scottie Pippen, the man, he was number 3 in MVP voting in 1994. Number 3, okay? He also was on the 72-10, the best team in NBA history. And he won 6 NBA championships. What more do they want from you?
Yeah, all y'all made great points, man. All y'all made fabulous points. All y'all hit the nail on the button, man. Scottie Pippen was needed, and the disrespect he get is absurd. If you know, like you say, if it's Mike said it himself. I will give Jordan his credit. He said you can't say Michael Jordan without saying Scottie Pippen, and that's very true. Pippen changed the way you draft small forwards. He changed the way your perception and defense. His defense, like you said, is top ever. One of the top of all time. Scottie Pippen was just do-it-all guy. He, like Bird said earlier in the show, he molded guys like Grant Hill. And then for LeBron James is pretty much Scottie Pippen 5.0, like Bird already said. So Pippen set as a trendsetter. He helped Jordan become Jordan. When Jordan, he took away Jordan's workload, got other teammates involved. One of the best teammates. I mean, if you listen to how Portland talks about Scottie Pippen, they love him. All his teammates that played with Scottie Pippen, they love playing with him. Kukoc said that's the best teammate I ever played with. Just listen to the Bulls players. They all say Pippen was their favorite teammate to play with. So Pip is definitely top 50, and he's just a winner. At the end of the day, Scottie Pippen is a big-time winner. That's what he does. And none of this happens without Scottie Pippen.
No doubt, man.
True.
Yep. Y'all been watching Spectator Sport, and I want to thank Jimmy Black and Bird for being on the show today, man. Much appreciated. This is a dope conversation. Bird ready to hoop already. Don't make me come cross you up. But hey, make sure we're gonna be back on soon. Thanks for tuning in to another quarantine edition of Spectator Sport. We out. Peace.
Scottie Pippen we're a tandem. It's hard to split us up. He means a lot to me when I go out and play on the basketball court. He relieves a lot of the pressure that I have to deal with. I try to do the same for him. It's hard to take this MVP by myself. He's got to take half of it. I take the trophy, he may get the call.
Scottie, the
first one had to be real sweet. What about the fifth one? This one is great. It was a lot tougher for us, a very difficult task to beat the Utah Jazz. We take our hats off to them. They gave us a hell of a series, but we stepped up as champions should do, and we brought it back home for number 5.
Yes, sir!